Hello, everyone. Welcome. Top of the morning to you. This is This Morning on ITV, right here on Independent Television. I am Anuluwakpo Stevens here in Edo State, Nigeria. So many things to talk about this morning on the show, from the foreign scene down here to Nigeria, power, politics, the people, the road to 2027 general election, and a whole lot more we are going to be dissecting this morning today on the show. Well, I have my co-anchor with me in the studio, Harry Agboje. I was about saying Harry Maguire, but hey, good morning.
I really don't know what it is with you and this Maguire, but good morning to you. It's great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. And subsequently on the show, we'll be having Lagos and Abuja, our colleagues over there, joining us. So many things to talk about this morning, but let's quickly bring you up to speed with what happened yesterday at the Senate. As the Senate approved Tigbe yesterday after a screening where he outlined bold plans. Now, wondering who Tigbe is, he is the new power minister. Remember, a couple of weeks ago, the former power minister, Adebayo Adelabu, resigned due to his intention to join politics in Oyo State come 2027. And now yesterday, we're seeing that the Senate has approved a new person to come on board. Now, this person in question, Joseph Tigbe, outlined bold plans that he is going to carry out once he is into that particular office. And a lot of Nigerians are beginning to question everything that he said. But let me just read this out to you. As he outlined bold plans like stabilizing the grid in 100 days, launching a transparency dashboard, and reforming tariffs to protect vulnerable households. A civil engineering graduate he is, with decades at KPMG and in regulatory reforms. He replaces Adebayo Adelabu amid chronic issues of 13,000 megawatt capacity delivers under 4,000 megawatts capacity due to transmission failures, gas shortages, and massive debts. So lawmakers urge lasting fixes over quick patches, while many praised Joseph Tigbe's poise, but stressed the results will matter most. Now, one of the major conversation, a statement from him that made the headline yesterday, is him saying he's going to fix the national grid collapse in 3 months. And a lot of Nigerians are talking. I'd love to get Harry's view on this. I see you having the smirk on your face. You don't believe him, or it's not doable?
Well, it's not that I don't believe him, and I think I speak for a good number of Nigerians out there. It's not like Nigerians do not believe, statements of this nature. As a matter of fact, it's what we would love to hear, But the question is, how realistic is it? Some persons would call this initial gra-gra, whatever it is. You understand? There's this enthusiasm that a lot of persons, that are new in office exude. So I would love to believe, or I would rather not love to believe this is one of such. Okay, the power sector has been, should I say, under siege for God knows how long. And
right.
I really can't believe that Nigerians are still grappling with it after so many years. Power is not supposed to be such a big deal, especially in this modern day where, other countries are even moving beyond basic means of generating power. So one would have expected that by now, we would have found our feet and, moved past all of these shenanigans surrounding the power sector, because, Nigeria is a leading power. It's a leading force in the international system, and one would expect that by now we would have gotten it right, and especially as far as industrialization is concerned. But what's industrialization without power? Absolutely. So I don't know. We can only be optimistic. We can only be hopeful that this is not one of those many, positive statements just to make people excited only for
motivation. Right. Perhaps it's now becoming a motivational speaker, I'm sure a lot of Nigerians would say that the former Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, before he resigned, remember, he did state that he's going to fix the power situation in the country within 2 weeks. And then that 2 weeks elapsed, and we heard rumors that he was going to resign. He came back to say he hasn't before he eventually threw in the baton. Now, let me move over to our colleagues in Lagos and Abuja. Good morning, ladies. Welcome on board. Yes. Charity Tanko in Abuja and Mercelina Unkor in Lagos, Nigeria. Let me quickly start with you, Mercelina. Should Nigerians take the new Minister of Power seriously with what he said yesterday?
Good morning to you, Anu. Good morning, Charity. And good morning, Ari. You know, one thing we Nigerians, you know, they've been, we just say these things. They come out to say these things or put these things down on papers without doing it. I mean, how can you, it's admirable. A lot of Nigerians wouldn't believe because these are leaders. They're coming out to say certain things or putting those things in paper without doing them. How are we going to be sure that for the first 3 months, according to him, you're going to put the whole power situation in place and all of that? I mean, these are things we keep hearing and hearing and hearing, and it doesn't, you know, I'm not saying what he said is not true. He might want to do it, but how are we sure? I mean, we've been hearing this thing over and over again. Okay, if I come into power, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to do that, and it's just on paper. It's not been done. So we are hoping, since it's said so, we are hoping to see if it actually works, because I mean the power situation in Nigeria is becoming worse by the day. So we hope to see what happens, what changes.
Well, that's the only thing a lot of Nigerians have at this point. Now, over to you, Charity Tanko. One of the lawmakers yesterday at the Senate did say something striking, where he said we've been grappling with the power situation in the country for as long as he can remember. And he thinks it's high time we invite Chinese, to come down to Nigeria to help us fix the problem. Do you think that's the way to go? And doesn't that even smell loom or spell loom at the end of the day? He also does state that within the next 20 years, we should have this agreement and arrangement with China to help us fix the life situation, because when we have stable power, the economy will bloom and everything will just work well together for everybody's good. Charity.
Well, thank you very much, Anu, and good morning, Ms. Lena. You know, whenever there is somebody standing before the Nigerian Senate, senators come up with several questions, even questions that they know that the kind of answers they are going to get are not answers that Nigerians will believe. And as to asking if they should invite China, you know, Nigeria has been in love with China for some years now. We seem to be going to China for everything. Education, collecting money, borrowing money from China and all of that. But I would say that Nigeria's problem is not lack of resources to tackle our situations or lack of resources to address the challenges facing every sector in Nigeria, including the power sector. Over the years, the power sector had got trillions and trillions of naira. Every government comes with a promise. We will fix power, we will fix power. Even the president, he said it, that he's going to fix the power situation in Nigeria in the next 6 months after coming into office as a president. And he equally said that if he fails, Nigeria should not vote him. But we all know that these are things that politicians say to get people to vote them. One thing I know for sure is that Nigeria has all it takes to handle its situation, has the natural resources, human capital, and everything that is needed. The only thing lacking is the political will to do such things. So even if China is invited to come and Nigeria entered into, even if it's a 100-year long-term agreement with China, what is the guarantee that the problem will still be solved? Looking at the fact that Nigeria is still in partnership with China over the rail transportation and other situations, and still this particular sector is they are still struggling. So senators ask questions, and if you look at it very well, it's as if these questions they come up with ideas where everybody will want to have a bite, let us say, of the national cake.
Thank you so much, Charity. Beautiful, amazing submission there. And I just remember, Harry, that currently in Nigeria, we're also grappling with should I say, shortage of power? When was the last time you had light in your house? I feel like in some part of the country, it's now a norm, and nobody's even talking about it.
The sad thing is, it's worse off in some parts of the country. For example, in my own part of Benin City, you know, it's been a sorry state. I can't remember the last time we had power, and you see, it's really worrisome because this is, like I said earlier, this is something that's supposed to be available to the average Nigerian. If we can't have access to stable electricity, if we can't have access to, you know, basic amenities, I mean, I think I would love to believe that power is something that is basic and something that should be available to the average Nigerian. And if we can't have access to it, then indeed, it will not be out of place to believe that Nigerians are, you know, actually suffering. Because you see, we have come a long way, and we've been, you know, trying to fix this problem for a long time. And you see, you made mention of what the minister said,
right?
The possibility of inviting China. I think we've been doing all of these things with China for way too long. You know, whatever. I mean, we want to sneeze, we invite China. We want to cough, we invite China. See, I think it's high time we started, you know, thinking along the lines of fixing our problems ourselves. Because we have everything it takes. We have the capacity to, you know, fix our own problems. I'm not saying that we shouldn't ask for help when necessary, but that should be when we've exhausted, you know, all of should I say, all of our willpower and whatever it is that we have to fix our problems.
Absolutely.
Then we can ask for help.
Absolutely. Another conversation. I feel like it's a lot, but we can't really talk about everything at this moment. We'll just touch here and there and, you know, see how things go. Another major conversation is regarding privatization of that sector. Just on a lighter note, I remember when we usually would see like a couple of months ago, and then you see children, years ago with the up NEPA, and then some person said, I think it's because they changed the name. How about you take it back to when it was called NEPA, and then we have like the stable lights. But we're looking forward to a Nigeria where we have 24 hours, you know, electricity supply or power supply. Is that possible? It is possible. Well, moving back to you, Charity Tanko, what should we get from your end? What are we getting from your end this morning? Kindly run us through in 30 seconds, please.
Well, from the Abuja Network Studio this morning, we are going to be discussing xenophobic attacks against Nigerians in South Africa. It is no longer news that Nigerians have been under attack since the 17th of April of 2026. And this is not the first time this is happening. From 2008, 2015, and 2019, all these things have been happening. So we're going to be looking at it. What should Nigerian government, even though Nigerian government has taken the step to have Nigerians register those who wants to come back home. As of today, they have over 130 people that have shown interest to come back. But we're going to be looking at what should be done next to ensure that this does not reoccur. We do not have reoccurrence of such events against our people over there. And we will be having a legal practitioner and as well as a public affairs analyst to analyze this topic together.
So thank you so much, Charity. Now moving over to Marcelina in Lagos, what are we getting from your end this morning?
All right, we're going to be talking about the defection lately. We saw that Obi and Kwankwaso, you know, they defected from the ADC to NDC. And we also saw that 70 reps members, you know, moved with them. And I've been hearing a couple of people saying, I mean, the Obi saying, wherever Obi goes, we go. So is it that Obi has been the one holding the ADC? Now the ADC is just left for Atiku. And we also saw that Aisha too defected yesterday to the NDC. So is it that the coalition, I mean, this whole coalition was set up to dethrone the current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And now that the ADC is just left with Atiku, Amechi, and the others, Peter Obi has defected. And we saw that a lot of persons have registered under the ADC for just those few days that Peter Obi has defected to the ADC and Kwankwaso. Does it mean that NDC, is now the strong political opposition party against the current ruling party? So today we're going to be looking at it, and we spoke about it yesterday from Lagos. Today we're still going to be looking at it from another angle in the legal practitioner way. So we'll be having a legal practitioner to help us talk about it, all of the facts elections that have been happening lately. So do APC still stand a chance for the forthcoming 2027 election, or NDC or other opposition parties? So that is what we'll be looking at today from Lagos.
Right. Well, back here in Edo State, Nigeria, we're also going to turn our attention over to look critically at what has been happening so far in South Africa with the xenophobia or xenophobic attack. And then we're now seeing that the federal government, interestingly, is showing interest at this point in seeking justice for slain Nigerians. Just recently, we had 2 Nigerians killed, even though some persons would say that it is more than that. And the shocking part of this conversation is the fact that it didn't just start today with what is going on currently in South Africa. It has been on for as long as one could remember. It started in the 2000s, and this is 2026, and we're still talking about it. Really sad. When we talk about that, we'll have human rights activists join us and also social commentator to weigh in on this trending story. And we'll also look at power, politics, and the road to 2027, because it seems to me and a lot of Nigerians that governance has been put on hold in Nigeria. Now, where do all of the citizens and the people, you and I, where do we stand in all of this? And are you being carried along with the defections, the gale of defections that we've seen so far, the ADC down to the NDC, the PDP? Yesterday, the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, had his monthly media chat, and he said a lot of things there. So we're now analyze basically everything, and we'll keep you up to speed with what is going on currently with politicking in Nigeria. Now, we'll quickly take a short break. When we return, we'll move over to look at a couple of national dailies this morning. Please join us again.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program, Healthy Living. What is the kidney?
The kidney is an excretory organ in the body, which is for metabolism.
Tuberculosis affects many organs in the body, but the common ones it usually affects is the lungs.
Epilepsy is a neurological problem.
Okay.
It is an injury in the brain which causes someone to begin to convulse, to go into fits.
It is curable, but the cure is a long-term thing.
If you eat well and avoid those risk factors that will make your immunity to be down, then the risk of contracting tuberculosis will be reduced.
If you're healthy, then you're wealthy.
TV, certainly the best.
Oh, welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. If you're just joining, you're on to This Morning on ITV. Now, we now turn our attention over to look at a couple of national dailies this morning, and we'll also be having our guest, our newspaper review analyst, to join live this morning from Lagos, Nigeria, Suprella Membrane. But let's quickly kickstart with the Punch newspaper. And on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning, the bold headline says, Amopitan's security concern, opposition kicks against troop deployment for 2027 elections. You get that details on page 2, that story on page 2, with sub-writer saying insecurity in various parts of Nigeria endangers fair elections. INEC chair speaking there. Police commence threat assessment, intelligence mapping ahead of polls. INEC partisanship, biggest threat to credible elections. Who was speaking? The PDP has that to say. Well, away from that story, Hunter virus scare triggers fresh COVID-style measures on page 2. Well, I'm sure the world is not ready for another major lockdown as we're getting to see this report on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. Away from that, primaries, APC waives screening for Tinubu. Okay, on page 32. I got 500,000 naira to bathe spa worker with acid. Suspects speaking there on page 4 and 5. Court orders interim takeover of Sylvia's 9 properties on page 22. While in page 42 of the Punch newspaper today, it says Judge Okay's verifies medical treatment in custody. In business news, oil falls 11% as U.S.-Iran deal nears on page 33. Domestic refiners dump $3.13 billion crude over pricing dispute on page 33. And finally, on the Punch newspaper this morning, succession move, Makinde may pick Adekambi adopts ADP on page 42. I don't know if we have our analyst ready to take us through a couple of major headlines, but whilst we wait on for that, let's move over to the next newspaper this morning. And of course, the Nigerian Tribune is up next. We'll move over to the Nigerian Tribune.
And on the Nigerian Tribune, this particular one right here is a screamer, and it says, PDP crisis, Wike dares banks, Makinde-backed faction. PDP crisis, Wike dares banks, Makinde-backed faction. And that can be found on page 20 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And, you know, the writer there says, threatens to shut down offices, banks that open accounts for party. We sympathize with Wike, and that's credited to Turaki faction. And still under that particular headline, says we are already operating party's account. Says we are already operating party's account. And then still on the Nigerian Tribune this morning, ACF NEC suspends BOT chairman. ACF NEC suspends BOT chairman, and that's on page 3 of, or rather page 1 of the Nigerian Tribune. And then still on the Nigerian Tribune, OPay partners CBN to advance youth financial literacy at Global Money Week. OPay partner CBN to advance youth financial literacy at Global Money Week, and that's on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune. And then above the masthead, major power challenge is overloaded transmission lines, says Tegbe, the new power minister. Major power challenge is overloaded transmission lines, says Tegbe, and that's on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. The writer there says Senate confirms him and Nikanloye as ministers. Senate confirms him, that's the president of Joseph Tegbe, and Nikanloye as ministers. And still on the Nigerian Tribune, Akpabio Oshomole clash over Senate amended rules. Akpabio Oshomole clash over Senate amended rules, and that can be found on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. I wonder why Anu is smiling, because
well,
one would wonder what the clash is about.
Honestly, there are those who would say what is good for the goose is good for the gander, and that was really heated up yesterday at the Senate with the Senate President and Senator Adams Oshomole. Well, we'll take that story hopefully on TMI Socials this morning.
Okay, let's take a look at the next paper, which happens to be the Vanguard newspaper.
And of course, the Vanguard newspaper is leading with worsening hardship, insecurity, poverty, pushing Nigerians to break. Who is speaking, NLC warns on page 5. Also, writer says faults finance minister's instance on fuel subsidy removal. Presidency won't bring back fuel subsidy. Oyedele speaking right there. Well, still on the front page of the Vanguard this morning, Akpabio Oshomole clash over amended Senate rules on page 9. Court orders temporary forfeiture of 9 properties linked to Timi Perez Silva on page 8. Xenophobic attacks. NANS threatens protest against South African firms in Nigeria. On page 26, well, interestingly, we saw a couple of that happened yesterday in major part of Abuja, and it seems that already started with likes of the telecommunication company being owned by South Africa right here in Nigeria. Well, still on the front page of the Vanguard, gag order, court bars NBC from punishing broadcasters over opinions on page 10. We are not planning to wipe out Christians. Who is speaking? Sultan has that to say. Well, any other major headline this morning on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper? Okay, PDP, Wike Makende's factions in deadly struggle. Now, when will the struggle end? Only time will tell. Beans, eggs, Gary prices rise monthly despite annual decline, according to a new report from the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, NBS. Many feared killed as gunmen attack mourners at mass burial in Plateau State. Well, that's all the Vanguard newspaper have in stock for us this morning. We now take our attention over to the New Telegraph newspaper.
And on the New Telegraph newspaper, there's this disclaimer that says we can't remove Christianity from Nigeria. It's impossible. And that's coming from the Sultan of Sokoto, and that's on page 4 and 7 of the New Telegraph newspaper. We can't remove Christianity from Nigeria. It's impossible. Well, we actually do hope that's true, and we hope, it's from the heart. Okay, now that's a writer there, and it says, Nigerians must resist divisive narratives as CAN president calls for unity and religious literacy. Says Nigerians must resist divisive narratives as CAN president calls for unity and religious literacy. Promote tolerance ahead 2027 polls. Akume tells clerics and traditional rulers. Promote tolerance ahead 2027 polls. Akume tells clerics and traditional rulers. And still on the New Telegraph this morning, 2027, Minority Whip Nwoye Aisha Yusufu dump ADC for NDC. Well, I guess it's a case of wherever my principal goes, I go. 2027, Minority Whip Nwoye Aisha Yusufu dump ADC for NDC. And still on the New Telegraph newspaper, APC Wolves screening for Tinubu ahead of primaries. APC Wolves screening for Tinubu ahead of primaries, and that's on page 6 of the New Telegraph newspaper. And right under the major headline, I'll seal any building bank used by Turaki-led PDP. Wike threatens. Here we go again. I'll seal any building and bank used by Turaki-led PDP. Wike threatens. Now it seems like the drama isn't ending anytime soon. And still on the New Telegraph newspaper, drama in Senate as Akpabio threatens to send Oshomole out of chamber. Actually, had no idea, the clash of the titans went that far. I know I saw excerpts of the exchange yesterday, but I don't think I saw it to that point. Drama in Senate as Akpabio threatens to send Oshomole out of chamber. And that can be found on page 3 and 7 of the New Telegraph newspaper this morning.
Okay, well, it seems that is all. Is that all we have this morning? Okay, that's all we have this morning on newspaper review. Do well to pick up any copy of the National Dailies to stay abreast with what is going on in Nigeria and business news and also globally as well. Now, we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll move over to our first leg of the conversation this morning. As regards the xenophobic attack and Raldo we have been seeing in South Africa and Nigeria, and the federal government weighing in on the matter. How far has this gone? Well, we'll find out shortly.
ITV, certainly the best. Well, the federal government has demanded urgent accountability from South Africa following the death of 2 Nigerians and a wave of anti-foreigner protest, warning that the incident threatened diplomatic relations and the safety of its nationals. The government issued the strong position after inviting South Africa's acting High Commissioner to Nigeria, Liso Marshall, to a meeting in Abuja on Monday with the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Dunamo Hamed. Now, according to a statement issued by the ministry's spokesperson, at the center of the disputes are the death of Matthew Nkim Ekpayong and Kelvin Chidibiri, both allegedly linked to assault by South African security personnel, which is really quite a sad one. Well, joining us to look critically at what is going on, what has been happening so far in South Africa with the anti-foreigner protest and, the push against the assaults, the intimidation, the fighting, the burnings, and the killings that has been happening in South Africa. I have my guest joined virtually this morning from Delta State activist Kelvin Ujemodo, SSA to the Delta State Governor on Human Rights. Good morning. Welcome on board.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Good morning, viewers.
And I also have Suprela Membrane, social commentator, joins live this morning from Lagos, Nigeria. Good morning, Suprela. Good to have you.
Welcome to be on board.
Right. Now, let me quickly start with you, activist Kelvin Ujemodo. What have you been observing so far, so good in South Africa as regards the protests, the intimidation, the burnings, the killings, and there seems to be hatred that's been brewing in South Africa against foreigners there?
When I see African brothers and sisters being intimidated, their rights and privileges being violated by South Africans who once depended on the help of other African nations when they were having the apartheid regime, including the help Nigeria rendered to them. So I'm surprised, the narrative they came up with, that Nigerians are taking their women, taking their jobs. It's imperative we set the record straight, and that the high rate of crime is caused by other nationals. Let's look at the ratio. South Africa is rated one of the most high-risk crime countries in the world, and most of these crimes committed are not all committed by foreigners. Some are committed by South Africans by themselves. Some of them, they don't want to work. They want to leverage on drugs, crime, and other vices. So nationals that have come there to look for greener pastures are being attacked, and some are being murdered. It doesn't tell well, and it speaks against the United Nations Charter of human rights and the human person. It's sad. I'm also back home. This has to happen because we do not have a better leadership to man our country, because we're not talking about the Western country. We're talking about a fellow African brother, from West Africa that we came from, to South Africa, harassing Ghanaians, harassing Nigeria, harassing Tanzanians, Mozambiques, and all of that. It's appalling. And the body language of President Ramaphosa has also shown that he has not taken a firm stand on these xenophobic attacks. And always Nigerians keep suffering more of these attacks whenever it occurs. We always count our losses. As we have said, enough is enough. We occupy MTN, occupy MultiChoice, occupy Islamic IBTC, all the businesses they have in Nigeria, we occupy them as well. When nobody have monopoly of violence. It's not good to start a problem or a crisis, because you don't know where it's going to end. They started it, they're thinking it's business as usual, but now narrative has changed. Nigerians will respond. If our government fails to respond the way they ought to respond, we the citizenry will respond to South Africans to let them know Nigerians we're not a pushover. Just because we have a failing system as a country doesn't mean Nigerians are pushover. One Nigeria anywhere is tantamount to 100 of persons anywhere. So that's the narrative, and I condemn this xenophobic attack in South Africa going forward. Thank you.
Okay, activist, thank you so much. Now let me move to you, Suprela Membrane. What have you been observing, and how bad has the situation gone over time, over the years, with the xenophobia attack we get to see happen in South Africa, or that has been happening in South Africa? Because for some of us, we are aware that it didn't just start today. It's been on since the 2000s, and this is 2026. We're still experiencing and seeing the same thing happen. What is going on? What's the problem right there?
Well, the of the situation in South Africa is unfortunately a manifestation of a wider problem. A manifestation of a wider problem in the sense that people are constantly being dealt a bad hand, both in South Africa as well as in other parts of the world, or Africans in general, as it relates to welfare of citizens and welfare of people or their people. Quite unfortunately, this has been the situation we've had to deal with. It's also a manifestation of a problem between in the domestic countries of those who migrate, because people usually migrate to seek better, greener pastures, as we like to call it. And then also in South Africa, anytime it's close to election season or when there is elections, there is this constant notch, this constant push for, process concerning issues concerning employment. And this now degenerates into xenophobic discrimination or discriminatory attacks against fellow Africans, against fellow Africans like Nigerians, those from Ghana, Namibia, Zimbabwe. So again, I would say it's a manifestation of failure and failure within the South African context and within the context of these various countries that their citizens are migrating. And that is what we see as xenophobic attack. And on a broader context, there's also the issue that has to do significantly with, will I say, seated or deep-seated hatred for foreigners, which was actually implanted by colonial tendencies, which is still very much alive in South Africa. So this is a manifestation of multiple or multifaceted issues that are manifesting under xenophobic attack. Do we blame South Africa single-handedly? No. I think it's a combination of blaming both the country, because this is a struggle for scarce resources. That is number one. It's a struggle for scarce resources, and that's what we see manifesting, both for South Africans, both for Nigerians, that's those who are migrating, both for Ghanaians and Zimbabweans and the rest of that. Lack of resources have pushed them into South Africa. Pushing them into South Africa means South Africa now has to deal with a building or a growing number of citizens and needs, social needs that are not being met by their system. The system is not enough or broad enough to handle this need. So, I mean, it's quite unfortunate that we are in this situation, but it's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call for Africans. Government within Africa, it's a wake-up call for both the South African government and also the Nigerian government. You have to provide enough resources for your citizens, and Nigerians, Ghanaian government, Zimbabwean government should know that in as much as these issues need to be addressed, there is also a fundamental problem domestically coming from these countries. And those issues have to be addressed. You know, lack of resources, lack of opportunities. Yes, migration.
Okay, thank you very much. That was a brilliant one. Okay, let me ask you this. Let's examine some of the allegations that have been leveled against these other African countries. Okay, they claim that Nigerians are taking their women, you know, indulging in drugs and, you know, a whole lot of other vices. Do you think there's any element of truth in these allegations? So, Pryla, can you hear me? So, Pryla,
can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Asking you. Yeah, I can hear you, but I need you to answer this question. Do you think there's any element of truth in the allegations that they are leveling against Nigerians and other African countries? They claim that Nigerians are indulging in drugs, you know, getting involved with their women and all whatnot. So do you think these are just mere allegations, or there's any element of truth in them?
Well, it depends on how you look at the issue. Or the issues rather, it depends on how you look at these issues. Yes, there's crime, but crime is not, well, I say, should not be, how will I put it, should not be nationality as being the ones behind all these unfortunate incidents. There are South Africans who commit crimes, there are South Africans involved in drug trafficking, there are South Africans involved in all wholesome, unfortunately unwholesome activities. Those exist. There are also Nigerians who engage in all this, because with migration comes a lot of negative and positive effects. But as I say, it's a manifestation of a deeper problem. The lack of resources is what even drives migrants to committing crimes in those countries, you know, or in South Africa, as we are talking about in this instance. The lack of jobs or lack of resources to go around is fundamentally part of the issues, or fundamentally part of why we see crime, you know, rising the way it is rising, or being committed. Obviously, when there is crime, the indigenous people or the people within an environment would usually normally point fingers at strangers that, oh, this phenomenon usually does not occur in our environment. But the truth is, if you look at it deeply, you know, is that really, you know, the reality on ground? You see, these are the issues that we have to interrogate as the people, as social scientists, as scholars, that people come into, even if people come into your society with a type of activity that is not predominant to your society, it does not mean that they are the only ones participating in that activity. Unfortunately, they are not. They've conscripted and recruited people from within the locality to aid and abet them in the commission of that crime. Why would people within that locality aid and abet them in the commission of that crime? It is because there is a scarcity of resources. And that is why they are committing crimes. So you see, at the end of the day, there is this resource issue, allocation of resources. That is what we have. If you go back in if you're a scholar of political history, all scholars of political history, political economy, and political thought have been, vehement about all these issues, from Jeremy Bentham to people like Thomas Hobbes, that the lack of resources will always drive the barbaric nature of human beings. So crime, again, is not really purely a manifestation of migration. I fully disagree with that, yes.
All right, thank you so much. Now let's move back to activist Kelvin. Let's come back here home in Nigeria. How would you rate and, actually weigh in on what the federal government has done, to tackle this issue head on? Do you think the federal government, the Nigerian government, is doing enough to even protect citizens abroad? Activist Kelvin, please.
Of teams by the federal government is not encouraging. We must be proactive, not reactive. Our government swiftly. That's when they want to be firm with their responses. We've lost 2 Nigerians. That's the huge loss, And if we have a proactive government in place, you don't speak much. You give a very firm statement and you match it with actions. And South Africans, I tell you, they'll sit up and they will never try this again. Because each Sudan government have been doing this xenophobic attack and we handle it with kid gloves. But if we give them a firm word that in the next 48 hours, if one Nigerian citizen is attacked, then all South African businesses in Nigeria will be shut down. And they see that you match your words with actions. They won't dare. The president will not be talking about they should read history, they should do. No. The president of South Africa will also understand that this is time for also a wake-up point in this country to protect life and properties. Because he did so to defend South Africans. Migrants are there, nationals are there, also doing legitimate business in the country. They are also under the president's control. So the responsiveness, it took when Nigeria started calling them out before they reacted to say, okay, calling the ambassadors to a roundtable talk. No. Give a firm and a last warning to South African people that if one Nigeria is attacked, if one, not even killed, if one is attacked or touched, all South African companies here in Nigeria will be shut down. Like what my senior comrade said yesterday in the Senate, that if they say Nigeria should leave their country, then bring all the Nigerians to South Africa home, let them occupy MTN to work there, and all South African businesses we have in Nigeria, all Nigerians will work there, all South Africans go back to your home. It's putting a square peg in a square hole, not putting a round peg in a square hole.
Okay.
Well, no country all over the world has the model of violence.
Your thoughts.
That's why when you see Trump.
Can you hear me? All right, activist Kelvin, just before you go on with your thought, we'd just also love to add that we hear that the federal government has sent or will send delegations to South Africa as regards this. Do you think that is even enough? Over time, we hear we condemn the situation. Is it really enough to condemn? Don't you think urgent actions should be taken, diplomatic actions should be taken out, against South Africa in this instance?
Like I said, a more coerced approach to be taken, not this bureaucratic approach, sending emissaries to South Africa to do what? They go there, they sit down, they talk. And no, they have a president there, you have a president in Nigeria. Send a strong message to the president of South Africa that if in the next 48 hours any Nigeria is attacked, this will follow, and let it follow. Then they'll take it seriously. When you go there and you, what are you going there to do? They've kicked your citizens. You are going there to do what? To negotiate. That's why I'm in love with President Donald Trump. You don't attack an American and expect it to. He will attack back before the dialogue. So you set the record straight for posterity's sake. This approach is docile. It's slow, and it's not rapid on at once, because you see them gaining more for the smoke attack. You see them getting more strength every day. Going to shops. Even the one that baffles me was they went to schools where they have other non-Africans if they're straight from school. Who does that? Where's the empathy? Where's the humanity? Children that came to this world that doesn't even know they left from the right. They did guidance. You went to school that said they should come from the school because they're not South Africans. It's an aberration. And the government of South Africa should be held responsible and accountable for every life lost in South Africa. This is a attack. It should be dragged to the International Court of Justice. They should drag President Ramaphosa to the International Court of Justice for every life lost in South Africa. Because he has not given.
All right. Here's a quick one, Comrade Kelvin.
They see the leverage and the liberty to construct museums in their country.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Here's a quick one, right? I've heard some Nigerians in some quarters suggest that if push comes to shove, that Nigerians in South Africa might have to resort to self-help in terms of, defending themselves. Do you really think that's realistic? Do you think that makes sense?
It does make a lot of sense, because it's only a coward sit back and you watch people mob you and they kill you and you do nothing to defend yourself. The Nigerian community in South Africa, they should come together, united force, stay together and protect themselves. Because the two we lost now nothing has been done about it. So I'm going to wait till more Nigerians are killed before they. So defend yourself, South Africa, all Nigerians in South Africa. Defend yourself from every sort of attack. Be lawful, but when push comes to show that your life is threatened, react and defend yourself. You can't sit back and someone come attack your family and kill your wife, kill your kids, and kill you as well, and you sit back and watch. No. If there are 10 that came to attack, at least 9 should be unalive. Let one go tell these people the story that what happened. That you saw when they took this madness to the white country with South Africans. You saw the resistance they got. They ran away. They were beaten. The South Africans were beaten from the white community, and they ran away. That's how you play yourself. Come together, be together, then defend yourselves.
Hear me?
Because the government of South Africa is
right.
matter of keep low. Nigerian government is matter of keep low.
Okay, thank you so much. Now let's move over to Shuprala Membrane. I feel at this point we've really hammered on what's going on, the curses and, all of the intimidation killings that Nigerians, not only Nigerians, Ghanaians and other African countries in South Africa have been suffering over the years. I remember a couple of days to the Freedom Day they celebrated in April 2026. One of the ministers right here in Nigeria is advising Nigerians in South Africa to stay at home. Do not come out. Please hide yourself and just keep safe. I remember watching an interview with BBC, and then this man, interestingly, he married a South African woman, and then he said that really is not enough. That is not even enough cover for him, because if you don't look like them, if you do not look like a South African, they begin to harass and intimidate you. It has gotten as bad as that, and children are also affected in this, in schools. It's really a sad one. But moving forward, what do you think is the permanent solution to this between, all of the countries? Do you think this is a propaganda that is, actually brewing within Africa countries? Because we don't get to see this happen oftentimes. What's really going on, and really what's the solution moving forward?
Okay, sorry. I was listening to the presidential spokesman of South Africa, versus Manangwa, also listening to his press conference about the conversations he's had with various world leaders, including the foreign minister of Nigeria, the new foreign minister of Nigeria, and the rest of that. I think the best approach out of this situation is a diplomatic one. Nigerians resorting to self-help will exacerbate the issue, what we can contain, and will be the worse for it. So we have to from who agree to have a business to have to it's well
Well, it seems we're having a bit of connectivity issue with Suprilla. Let's move over to activist Kelvin. Let's get to your final take on this as regards solutions moving forward. What is that one thing that we need to do, all the African countries need to do to put an end to these threats?
It's high time they sign a treaty. The African Union, I don't know, they've been so docile of late. The ECOWAS and other sister Pan-African countries to sign a treaty that going forward, not all Africans must live together as brothers and sisters. If a foreigner is in your country, protect that foreigner in your country like your own self. Humanity is one. We all have red blood flowing through our body. Whether you are Ghanaian, you are American, you are Nigerian, the color of our blood in our stream is red. So we are first human beings before our nationalities that we belong to. So going forward, I think they should sign an African treaty of the African Union, the AU, the ECOWAS, and other sister Pan-African organizations that going forward, this is a liberal treaty or whatever acronym they want to ascribe it to, that every African must see themselves as brothers and sisters and no more xenophobic attacks. It is when all of them have come together to condemn it and stand by that. Going forward, any country that carries such act will be sanctioned, maybe by bilateral reasons, trade and other businesses, and that also will bring sanity to the system. I saw you. Hello?
All right, okay, activist Kelvin, if you can hear me, we really need to go at this point. But I really must thank you so much, activist Kelvin Ujemudo, SSA2, Delta State Governor on Human Rights, and also Suprilla Membering, social commentator. Thank you so much for your time today. It's an unending conversation, and subsequently, Abuja Studio will also, weigh into the issue. Let's just hope that things get better and, the right things are being done, and people are actually safe to, cohabit or to live in another man's land, sort of, without fear of intimidation, harassment, struggle, tussle, whatsoever. At the end of the day, we're all one big family, one brother and a sister. Now we go off on another break, but when we return, we take our attention this time around into politics and look at power, politics, and of course the road to the 2027 election. Please join us again.
Ugewe is the final ceremony of the series of festivals. It is one of peace and lightheartedness, following the more solemn of the ritual year. Ugewe is the festival of the Ewe leaves, a symbol of good luck and joy. It is the most popular of all that heralds the dawn of a Benin New Year, new vow, newness of life and freshness of life, and a new hope for the future. In the evening, the Ewe leaves are presented to the Oba of Benin in grand style in a colorful ceremony. The Ihogbe Society, amidst singing and dancing, bring the sacred leaves that symbolize good luck, blessings, peace, and prosperity. Each of the senior members of the Ihogbe proceeds to give the sacred leaves directly to the Oba of Benin, and others put theirs at his feet.
ITV, certainly the best.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program, Healthy Living. What is the kidney?
The kidney is an excretory organ in the body, which is for metabolism.
Tuberculosis affects many organs in the body, but the common ones it usually affects is the lungs.
Epilepsy is a neurological problem.
Okay.
It is an injury in the brain which causes someone to begin to convulse, to go into fits.
It is curable, but the cure is a long-term thing.
If you eat well and avoid those risk factors that will make your immunity to be down, then the risk of contracting tuberculosis will be reduced.
If you're healthy, then you're wealthy.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us as we now turn our attention to the growing political calculations, shifting alliances, power plays and governance concerning the 2027 election as we get to journey towards that. Now, even with the next general election still some distance away, the political atmosphere is heating up, from coalition talks to defections, to debate over zoning, economic performance, insecurity, and of course public trust in leadership. As politicians strategize and parties reposition themselves, many Nigerians are asking critical questions at this point. Number one, is governance being overshadowed by politics? What lessons have been learned from previous elections, and what kind of leadership will Nigerians demand in 2027? Well, to help us make sense of all of this, I have our guest to join in virtually this morning from Abuja. I have Priye Amakri, representative of the CRA 27 Advocacy Network. Thank you so much, Priye, for joining this morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
The first question that says, what have you been observing so far regarding the political terrain in Nigeria, especially from the opposition parties in Nigeria?
What I'd say the major thing I've been observing is a concerted effort on the part of the opposition to unite, come together, and present a common front to take on the incumbent administration in the next round of elections. Of course, with situations like this, you have a little hiccup here and there, you have a couple of disagreements, but overall, we would see that from the moment the coalition was announced, even before, but primarily from the moment the coalition adopted the ADC as the platform up to this point, we've seen a concerted effort on the part of different opposition leaders coming together, bringing everybody together, trying to strengthen the ADC platform and facing the challenges that have been coming up head on. The disagreements, in my opinion, are to be expected because, I mean, where more than two people are gathered, there will always be a difference of opinion. Even twins have differences in opinion. But overall, there is a concerted effort, despite the roadblocks, despite the issues, despite the distractions being put in their way, there is a concerted effort on the part of the opposition to not just be on the ballot, but to prosecute this 2027 election in a way and a manner that is different from what the opposition has done in previous years.
Okay, Priye, what would you make of Obi's defection from the ADC to the NDC? What factors would you say necessitated his defection? Because it seemed like he had found home when he, when the ADC was formed, and he was one of the major players in the ADC, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's in NDC. So what factors would you say, contributed or necessitated his move from the ADC to the NDC as we approach?
I wouldn't want to dwell too much on the defection of His Excellency, Mr. Peter Obi, from the ADC to the NDC. As to the factors that led to his defection, I think that Mr. Obi is not, in any ramification, Mr. Obi is not the child. Mr. Obi is an accomplished businessman, He's a former governor, and he's recognized and respected worldwide. Mr. Obi has had the ambition of being president of Nigeria since at least 2021, 2022. Things that I'm aware of, within this context, so to speak. And I'm sure that he will be in the best position to understand better than most of us the challenges that he faces. So, again, there is no, in my opinion, there is no issue. His defection is one of those things that happens in politics. And as a lover of Nigeria and lover of good governance and progress, I definitely wish him well.
I think we need to still dwell on it with what has been going on so far with the ADC camp. The number of lawmakers that have defected since Peter Gogoyobi moved to the ADC is really truly alarming. Yesterday, one of the ADC chieftain, Kenneth Okonkwo, did state that we do not need Peter Obi, and he's really not going to affect our chances of winning the 2027 general election. I'll also love to get your principles, states on this. His Excellency Rotimi Amaechi, because at some point in time he was actually in the news when he said that the media team or the media persons, the obedience movement, are the ones attacking him, and his own media team has nothing to do with quarrels and mouth battles on social media regarding politics. I'd love you to just wrap us in on all of that.
Okay. I would agree with Mr. Okonkwo and disagree with him at the same time. I'd agree with him in the sense that considering the caliber of personalities that the ADC has, the defection of one or two people ordinarily isn't supposed to be an issue. But you see, we are facing with this particular time that we're in calls for extraordinary measures. And as much as we might have our own biases and preferences, I really don't think that we can comfortably say somebody like Mr. Obi and Alhaji Kwankwaso, we don't need them. The general idea was to bring everybody together, organize a free, fair, credible primaries, and get everybody behind the winner of that primary. Unfortunately, we have a situation where, according to Mr. Obi, due to the court cases ADC has presently, it doesn't look too viable a platform for him. And again, like I said, for my principal, we bear him no grudges. There is no animosity, there is no ill feeling. He's a politician. He is in perfect control of himself and his senses and his ambition. And if he decides that the best path for Nigeria through his lens is through the NDC, then that's fine. For us, that's very fine. For my principal and those of us who work for him, the instructions has been clear from day one, and it's not just a question of Mr. Obi. It is a question of every other person who is on the other side, right? Especially those within the same platform, which is the ADC. And the instruction was very simple. We do not need insults. We do not need side comments. We do not need personal attacks in order to sell the candidacy of Chibuike Rotimi Amaechi. For every year that Chibuike Rotimi Amaechi has been in government, from 1999 as Speaker up till 2022 when he resigned as Minister of Transportation, there are easily verifiable, tangible, long-term projects and legacies for us to use to sell it. We have come under a lot of attacks, yes, but again, there's no need to respond in like manner because, like I just mentioned, we do not need to go dirty to sell our candidate. We maintain that our candidate is the most qualified. We maintain that our candidate has the best pedigree. We maintain that our candidate is the best. And when you have that confidence and belief in your candidate's abilities, there's really no reason to begin to engage in personal attacks. So when those attacks come, we don't respond because, aside from instruction, it's just not our type of person.
All right, Pierre, let's take a look at the NDC, the new bride. Do you think it has what it takes to gather the kind of momentum that the ADC has gathered, over time as the 2027 election approaches? Because it seems like all attention or all eyes are moving towards the NDC now, because that's where Peter Obi is. So do you think it has what it takes to gather the kind of clout, the kind of momentum that it needs, to actually wrest power from the ruling party come 2027?
I don't think so. I don't think so. And I say this with every ounce of respect to the father and the leader, His Excellency Senator Sarah K. Henry Dixon. But you see, the ADC was a long time in coming. The choice of the ADC as a platform was deliberate, was well thought out, was strategic. Now, the ADC has had not just the benefit of time, it has also had the advantage of a spread in terms of the personalities who make up the party. So, for example, in the ADC today, we're talking about national figures. We'll talk about His Excellency Senator Mark, we'll talk about Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, we'll talk about Rotimi Amici, we'll talk about Senator Waziri Tambua, we'll talk about Alhaji Kashim Imam. We'll talk about different caliber of people from across the country. We'll talk about Ogbeni Ralph Arembeshola. We'll talk about a lot of people who have all come together under one umbrella. And because they didn't start 2 months or 3 months ago, they have had the benefit of time. They've had the benefit they've had the benefit of time to plan and put themselves. The NDC today, if we are being honest, doesn't have more than 5, 6 prominent national figures. The entire hype, the entire media hype that we're seeing right now is on the back of Peter Obi and Rabiu Kwankwaso. And the one thing all of us would agree is that His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi has a good media profile. And so wherever he goes, he tends to make the news. So for me, winning a presidential election goes beyond that hype. The ADC has put in place a lot of structures that it will take the NDC time to meet up with. Whether that time is there between now and the next election is what I am not sure of. But without any form of, with all sense of responsibility, and with all sense of respect, I do not think that the NDC will be in a position to effectively win presidential elections.
Okay, great, amazing. Now, one of the major things that has actually been raised up with the formation of opposition parties and the coalition movement in Nigeria, as regards especially the ADC, is the fact that we don't even hear any of your plans, any of the things that you would want to do for Nigeria to make it a better place for Nigerian citizens. All we get to hear is, okay, we're going to take power from those people. It's more or less, regarding taking power from the current administration. I would love you to answer that and tackle that. And also another major question is governance being overshadowed currently by politics in Nigeria?
Okay, let me answer the latter question first before I get to the former. Yes, governance is being overshadowed by politics in Nigeria. And this did not start in 2026. From the first year that this administration took office, all they started to do is politics. From the mode of appointments, projects that were delivered, statements that were made by the officials of the administration and what have you. From the very beginning of this administration, they began to unfold a plan to have for them to find themselves in a situation where, at this point where we are, there will be no credible position. So all they've done is politics. And that's why you can see that even in areas where they could have ordinarily claimed, should I say, progress, the lack of political will to follow up on some necessary things to give human face to some of these their policies, reforms, and the rest has been lacking. So governance has come a close second. I mean, even if we wanted to have an argument about that, we're all witnesses. As recently as 2-3 months ago, during the National Assembly, during budget appraisal meetings at the National Assembly, we saw ministers coming out to tell us publicly that they have not received, in some cases, not up to 5% of their capital expenditure for the budget year. So governance has overshadowed. I mean, politics have overshadowed governance under this administration from the very beginning. The only thing that they have been very good at is playing politics. Now, I think that you're not being fair to the ADC when you say you're not hearing what do different. And I'll say this for a couple of reasons. First is because our National Publicity Secretary, Alhaji Malam Bolaji Abdullahi, has been very vocal on the media as to what the ADC will do different prior to this time. However, you would agree with me that the ADC, that until the Supreme Court judgment, the focus of everybody within the ADC was in navigating that landmine that was put in front of the party before by the Court of Appeal. So then again, you need to also pay attention to the candidates. For example, for us, we believe, for us, our candidate has been able to align what he says he will do when he gets elected with the general mindset and the general feelings of the party as a whole. So you have a situation where if you take a step back and look at what the likes of Rotimi Amaechi is telling us that he's going to do when he becomes president, you'd see that it aligns deeply with even the personal and pedestrian comments of those that you refer to as members and power brokers and leaders of the party. So I think that by the time the primaries are done and a candidate has emerged and the party has coalesced behind that candidate, you begin to hear more of what we will do and how we intend, not just what we'll do, how we intend to do them when we get elected into office.
Now, back to Peter Obi's defection to the NDC. Of course, we know that the activist Aisha Yesufu has also defected. Now, do you see more persons defecting from the ADC to the NDC, because of Peter Obi?
Well, I mean, it's a possibility. It's a very strong possibility. And that's because Peter Obi is a politician. Peter Obi is a politician who wants to be president of Nigeria. And because he has been on the ballot before, no matter how you feel about him, that kind of candidacy carries weight. So definitely there will be people who, even if they don't love him or they don't subscribe to his brand of politics or his style of administration, we definitely have situations where people who feel that the NDC offers them the best path to actualizing their own ambition, or those who feel that supporting Peter Obi at this material time is maybe the right thing, the necessary thing, or the convenient thing to do. So yes, we will still see defections, not just from the ADC, but from other parties to the NDC. Again, we would also see movement from other parties into the ADC, because for now, we are still in primary season. I'm sure that by the time we're done with the primaries, the candidates of the ADC would do a lot in convincing people and those who are even in other parties to come together to support the candidate and the party. So yes, we will still see more defections. That's a given. We're in political season, and irrespective of the provisions of the Electoral Act, politicians will still find a way to go around it. And yes, we see more defections to the NDC. I would also see more defections from the NDC and other parties into the ADC.
If you can hear me. So basically what you're saying, Priye, is the transfer window is still open. Interestingly, always an unending conversation here. But I really must thank you so much, Priye Amaraki, representatives of the CRA 27 Advocacy Network. Thank you so much for your time today. Absolutely. Now that's our bit this morning right here in our Benin studio. We'll now take a short break and we move over to join Abuja. Please stay with us.
Welcome to Abuja Network Studio, and we're still on this morning on ITV. Here in Abuja Network Studio, we're going to be discussing the xenophobic attacks against Nigerians in South Africa. On the 27th of April, there were waves of protest in South Africa's Pretoria, Johannesburg, Durban, and Cape Town, where it was started renewed anti-immigrant protest. And sadly, 2 Nigerians lost their lives. As we speak today, the federal government has taken steps to make sure that Nigerians living in South Africa who are willing to return home have registered. They have over 130 Nigerians who have registered indicating interest to return home. And the federal government, as well as the National Assembly, both chambers of the National Assembly, have condemned strongly the continued xenophobic attacks against Nigerians in South Africa, because this is not the first incident. It has been happening. There was a 2008 incident, 2015, and 2019, with lawmakers calling for a review of the talks and the agreements that was reached in 2019 when a delegation of the National Assembly visited the South African government over this matter. And to discuss this matter with me, I will be having Barrister Sonny Anyao. He will be speaking to us via the phone as we analyze this crucial matter, how it's affecting Nigerians economically and as well as their social life in South Africa. With this continuous attacks, would Nigerians still be willing to travel to South Africa? Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Okay, good morning.
Well, we are looking at the xenophobic attacks in South Africa against Nigerians, and are looking at the fact that this is not the first time this is happening. Let's take a look at the impact of this on Nigerians living in South Africa, even as we speak right now.
Well, this attack in South Africa has been it's more or less political, because one how do you react? South African company here in Nigeria, they cannot be benefiting from us, and they're using that resources to attack our country.
ITV, certainly the best. ITV, certainly the best. ITV, certainly the best.
We sincerely apologize for the break in transmission. We were discussing the xenophobic attacks against Nigerians in South Africa and the fact that the Nigerian government has taken steps towards ensuring that Nigerians living in South Africa who are interested in returning home should come home, and as well as the National Assembly condemning the call, condemning the attacks, and saying, in fact, some members of the National Assembly, especially in the floor of the Senate, are saying that there is need to review bilateral ties with South Africa, and also there was also the call for tit-for-tat treatment, that if they can treat Nigerians the way they are treating them in South Africa, then it is time that Nigeria reciprocate in the same manner. Our guests will be joining us via the call while we're still discussing the matter. Basically, we are going to be taking a look as for how will this continue, looking at the fact that Nigeria played a South Africa's apartheid. I remember years back when the late Nelson Mandela came out. Okay, I guess it's online. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, my sister.
All right, glad to have you back. We apologize for that break. So, as we were saying, what is the impact on this, of this, especially on Nigerians living in South Africa?
The impact is that it has gone away to destroy the relationship between Nigeria and South Africa. To the extent that I chose my country, Nigeria. One day they will react of what is happening. You know, so it has gone a long way to all the relationship. One, I do not know why South Africa should do what they are doing. They forgot the role Nigeria played during the apartheid regime. Remember, it was when one of the Commonwealth to boycotted because South Africa participated. And that is why we started the UK now, ban Nigeria from automatic entry in their country. They started issuing us visa. That was one of the things we suffer for South Africa. And many other things we suffer for them. Nigeria was number one in the fight of apartheid. They have suddenly forgotten. Even if they don't, the South African government should be able to teach them, to tell them, look at what Nigeria has done to us. We shouldn't do this thing to us. Yeah, you understand? You can see if you watch it in the television, you will see the crowd there. No policeman there use any weapon on them. If it is Nigeria, they will order policemen to start shooting. And take gas. They did not use the tear gas on them, they did not shoot. But our Nigerian government, they will say, quick, shoot, kill. They will call them miscreants. And as much as I do not support what they are doing to us, it is not proper, it is not good. It will forever sour the relationship between South Africa and Nigeria.
Okay, according to the protesters, they said Nigerians have taken over their jobs because there is this high unemployment in South Africa. So they are protesting and attacking Nigerians for taking over their jobs. They say that Nigerians they receive lower wages because they want to take over their jobs. Do you think that is justified?
There's no justification for killing and ending human being. That is not justification. Meanwhile, South Africans are lazy most of people. They are lazy. Nigerians are hardworking, you know that. When they help to assist the economy, Nigerians are hardworking individuals. Keep Nigeria in the desert, Nigeria will turn desert to city. But they will not be able to do it. So that is a flimsy excuse to start killing Nigerians and other African they start other African countries start killing them because they are taking over their job. Whose job? Whose job have they have taken? If you cannot do an Nigerian village, why are you grumbling? You know, tell me, if not the bad leadership we have in Nigeria, if not the bad leadership we have found ourselves, what are we going to do in South Africa? Tell me what are we going to do in South Africa? If I find any other countries to go to South Africa, tell me what? It's because we have bad leadership, and that's what we are suffering. Tomorrow, we continue suffering. Ghana will chase us away, South Africa will chase us away. Even Cameroon will chase us away very soon. Cote d'Ivoire will chase us away very soon. Because why? We have bad leadership. As you don't have a good leadership, why should you go there? We do what? Well, that becomes it's a good justification for them to do what they are doing. Killing Nigeria, destroying the properties. You know?
Okay, do you agree with the House of Representatives' recommendation of reviewing business permits for South African companies in Nigeria? Do you think this is realistic?
Of course, they find it long overdue. They ought to have done it immediately. What the House of Representatives, sanctioning their company here in Nigeria. Because some of these profits go back to South Africa, and they're using that to kill our fellow brothers and sisters there. So the best way is to, sanction their company. MTN, we have an indigenous network like Glow and others. MTN, GoTV, and DSTV, and other companies there. Sanction them immediately. Stop them from functioning. They will not start feeling the impact. They will stop that rubbish they're doing. So I stopped. I read in the television yesterday, I don't know if it is true, I stand to be corrected, that Fabio refused the sanction on the South African companies. If it is true, assuming it is true, it is unfortunate for Fabio, the Senate President.
What the Senate President said was Nigeria should pursue a more diplomatic approach to the matter when Senator Adams Oshomole said it should be tit for tat, that South Africans in Nigeria should also be given a taste of their own medicine.
Of course, I support what Oshomole for the first time. Oshomole is getting it right. For the first time in his life. Then I want to believe that Fabio is benefiting a lot from South Africans. And that is why he also wants, he's talking about diplomatic solution. What about diplomacy? The guy employed diplomacy when they are killing your brothers and sisters there, and you're talking about diplomacy. Why should Fabio make that statement? It's unfortunate for him to have made that statement. If it is a country that is talking, they ought to have impeached him to make that statement. When people are dying, saying to use diplomacy. I wish his daughter or his son is dead. He will not use that language, diplomacy. So I support what Oshomole is doing. For the first time, I was able to raise my hand for Oshomole when he was making that, when I saw it in the social media. For the first time. So I 100% support the Oshomole. That is it. Let us sanction their company. This rubbish will stop.
Okay, there was also a call that the African Union should sanction South Africa. And in the context of this, does the AU has the authority or the powers to sanction South Africa?
Sorry, AU?
AU, yes, AU. There was a call that the African Union should sanction South Africa. So now the question is, can the AU actually sanction South Africa?
Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Can I hear you? Hello?
I can hear you, sir. Uh-oh, we lost that call. We lost that call. Well, the network is not very stable. But I am calling back. So you've heard it from our guest. He is of the opinion that South Africans should also get what they are dishing out to our people over there. But the government and the National Assembly is more poised to pursue a diplomatic approach to see how this matter is going to be resolved. And in fact, the National Assembly took a step further to resolve that they will be sending a delegation which will be led by the Senate President himself, Godswill Akpabio, to interface with the South African Parliament for this to find a lasting solutions to this issue, because so far nothing has been said, and it was expected that the South African Parliament will be discussing this. And the sad thing is that these protests were not carried out by just ordinary South Africans. There was also their security personnel were involved, especially in the death of the 2 Nigerians over there. The security personnel, the security agents there are being fingered for being responsible for that. And the question is, for how long will this continue? For how long will Nigerians continue to suffer ill treatment in other parts of the world? One would have said that if it is beyond the shores of Africa that this is happening, it will be understandable. They will say it is a racial thing. But we are having a situation whereby Africans are raising up their hands and arms against Africans. They said Nigerians are taking over their jobs, Nigerians are taking over their businesses, they are occupying everywhere. And the argument, the conversation has always been that South Africans are lazy, they do not want to work. Nigerians being the hard workers that they are, anywhere they find themselves, they call it hustle. They hustle hard and make sure that they make the ends meet. And beyond that, I think it is also a clarion call for the federal government and all relevant agencies to make the environment conducive for Nigerians to be able to stay home and make whatever it is they are going to make out of their lives, so that it will be a case of if you want to travel out on a vacation, you travel out on a vacation. But there is need for Nigerian government to do much more to make the country more attractive for Nigerians, especially the young generations that we have, especially the teeming youths who are bursting with energy, bursting with ideas for businesses, for innovations and all of that. But because of lack of conducive environment, the next thing they will be looking for a way to japa. That is what we call it now, the japa syndrome, to leave the country. Well, this is where we draw the curtain on this segment from the Abuja Network studio, and I'll be handing it over to Lagos after this break. Please do stay tuned.
The Ugewe is the final ceremony of the series of festivals. It is one of peace and lightheartedness, following the more solemn of the ritual year. Ugewe is the festival of the Ewe leaves, a symbol of good luck and joy. It is the most popular of all that heralds the dawn of a Benin New Year, new vow, newness of life and freshness of life, and a new hope for the future. In the evening, the Ewe leaves are presented to the Oba of Benin in grand style in a colorful ceremony. The Ihogbe Society, amidst singing and dancing, bring the sacred leaves that symbolize good luck, blessings, peace and prosperity. Each of the senior members of the Ihogbe proceeds to give the sacred leaves directly to the Oba of Benin, and others put theirs at his feet.
ITV, certainly the best.
Many thanks for joining on the CMI program this beautiful morning. I am Marcelina Unkwo, and welcome to our Lagos Network studio. And our guest this beautiful morning that would help us talk about today's topic is Barrister Jide Ologun. He's a legal practitioner. Hello, Barrister. Good morning.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
So today we're going to be looking at the coalition politics in 2027 as reign opposition realignment. You know, Nigerians' opposition landscape is experiencing a major shift ahead of the 2027 election as talks of the united coalition face growing internal disagreement. Key political figures and parties are struggling over leadership, zoning and candidate selection, raising concerns about the strength of the opposition going into the next general election. The developments have also sparked constitutional and legal debates around the party defections, coalition politics, and internal party democracy, and the role also of the Independent National Electoral Commission, the INEC, in regulating political alliances and electoral processes. We saw that few days ago, Peter Obi and Kwankwaso, they defected from the ADC to the NDC, and also some rep members, 17 rep members defected with them. Also yesterday we saw also defected with them. And all the obedience are saying wherever Obi goes, we go. And now the party ADC is left with Atiku, Rotimi Amechi, and others. You know, now the few days that Obi has defected to the NDC from the ADC, we've seen a lot of registration on the NDC, and this has gotten a lot of people talking, saying that does it mean Obi has been the one, you know, holding the ADC, coupled to the fact of all the defections that have happened recently and lately, when just few days of Obi defection. So is it that the NDC now is the NDC the strongest opposition party currently? That is a question a lot of Nigerians are asking. Do the NDC stand a chance for the forthcoming 2027 election, or the APC still stand a chance? We spoke about it yesterday, but today we're going to be looking at it in a legal way. Of course, like I said earlier, we have a Barrister Jide Ologun here, who would be helping us analyze into this topic. So Barrister Jide Ologun, let's start with this. Under Nigerian law, when is defection legally justified? I mean, we've been seeing a couple of defection lately.
Thank you very much. If you look at Section 68 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it states clearly that a National Assembly member that defects from the party that brought him or her to office will lose that seat, except there is crisis, you know, division in the, and like they say, from top to bottom, that party has merged with another party, prompting that defection. And talking about the members of the assembly at the states level, you have Section 9 taking care of that. And then some matters have gone to court to test the provisions of the law. In the case of Abegunde in Ondo State, the court said he had to lose his seat. But again, in the case of Rivers State, where Amawule and his friends in the House of Assembly defected, you know, from PDP to APC, and all the crises as far as the Supreme Court, that has been watered down. And again, we say there's a lacuna in that provision of the crisis, which means some political officers who just want to jump boats can instigate crises in their parties and use that excuse to move. In the case of the governors, there is actually no constitutional provision for their defection. And I think that the National Assembly, mandated by Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, should begin to look in that direction. They are to make laws for the peace, orderliness, and good government in Nigeria. And for politicians who are not holding elective offices, there is no constitutional provision preventing from jumping you know, like mentioned, people like Kwankwaso, like Peter Obi, and so they are free to move. It's just the public relations aspect of it and the perception people have, you know, because again, you need to profile politicians based on their party's ideology and loyalty to their parties. And some have argued that if you cannot stay to solve the problems in your party and you keep jumping, then how can you, you know, live up to the task of managing the whole nation? Though it's an argument for, and some argue that fine, if the party cannot give the platform for electoral victory, then it's platform, you know. So because if you look at some of the politicians, quite a number of them have moved within the space of some years to about 3 or 4 parties.
All right. Barrister Dijide, you know, this whole coalition, ADC coalition stuff was set up for to dethrone the president. I mean, the current ruling president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And at the same time, you know, Obi is there, Atiku is there. At a time, you know, for the presidential ticket to be given, Obi is not ready to step aside for Atiku, and Atiku is not ready to step aside. None of them would want to. I mean, Atiku has been vice president twice, and he would now he would not want to step aside. Well, he made a statement where he said that, oh, if even anybody that eventually gets the ticket, I would support this person. But is it that, do you think Obi already saw that Atiku is going to win the primary? So, I mean, that is why he defected to the NDC. And a lot of his supporters, I've been hearing a lot of his supporters, I'm talking about the Obedience and the Kwakwasias, and also some other persons saying that Obi did the right thing, because there's no way Atiku wouldn't get the presidential ticket, I mean, win the primaries. And Obi would not want to be vice president. Like I said earlier, Atiku has been vice president twice, and he would not want to be vice president. He felt, okay, I need a presidential ticket. Don't you think that is a reason why Obi defected to the NDC?
I cannot hold brief for Obi, but it's likely to be the reason, you know, because I also ask myself the same question. Is Obi willing to hold the vice presidential ticket for any presidential candidates? And my answer was no. And again, like you brilliantly mentioned now, with the stance of Atiku was a vice president, so I do not see him also coming out to say, I want to be vice president again. So on the scale of self-actualization under Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I think the next office for him to aspire in Nigeria is the office of the president. So, and if Obi has considered that, and knowing that, because as a politician you must understudy the environment where you are operating, and knowing that it may not be an easy nut for me to crack, and NDC eventually succeeded in coming back to light, then they've moved there with his followers. And we want ADC with all the cases in court, David Mack, the Gambo, all of them that come. You need to design an internal conflict resolution mechanism that will help stabilize the party. So, and if you look at the combination of Kwankwaso and Obi, for instance, you talk about the Kano and Northern clique, and you talk about the Southeastern movement and the obedience movement in Nigeria. And I think that should a movement of concern for the APC, which though, as we speak right now, there are 31 governors of the 36 states in Nigeria in APC. But given the circumstances of the nation right now, that also may not be a concept to solidify on, you know, because you know the message of the opposition, poverty, hardship, and things like that. And of course, you cannot rule out the role of the states in all this, and that is presuming that INEC will be independent, which is another challenge also that opposition is coming out to shout about. And even INEC herself is telling us that insecurity may threaten the 2027 election. So we have a big issue ahead of us. And another school of thought is...
So that is the insecurity.
Yeah, that is for INEC. And I was worried if INEC can come up to tell us that insecurity, because again, that's a message for opposition, that under this government, the level of insecurity is enormous. And there's another school of thought, even asking entirely that will there even be an election? Because there are those who expressing frustrations and may not even, may be willing to disrupt the political space. So the government must watch out for all this. You see, we are talking about democracy and not politocracy. And that is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people, you know, to enhance the fortunes of the citizens and deliver what has been branded for many years as dividends of democracy, you know. But what is visible now in our country is just the crave for power. So what do you do with that power? You know, you need to look at the standard of living of the people, the cost of living, the management of our resources, engaging the future, you know. So those are the issues.
You spoke about democracy. Do we practice democracy in Nigeria?
We claim to practice democracy, but in comparison, look at Switzerland, for instance, that is profiled as one of the best template of democracy in the world. There are 3 levels of democracy, and let me say that democracy is the government of the people, by the people and for the people, which means the people are the custodians of the authority, hand over to some elected personalities to manage. In Switzerland, there are 3 levels of governance. You have the national level, you have the state level, and you have the canton level. So the canton level is the lowest. And what happens? All the levels must agree on major projects in the land. So if, for instance, there is a project to construct the biggest stadium in the world, the national votes for it, the state votes for it, the canton votes against it, that project won't fly until all 3 vote. And that is why in Switzerland, for instance, voting is a frequent exercise. In 13 years, you may have about 7 or 8 elections. So you find the people collectively determining how they want the society to move. And that is why, for instance, you have the prosperity profile in Switzerland, you know, and you don't have the kind of desperation we have in our own space. And when you also talk about governance system that is people focused, you talk about Norway. As we dialogue here right now, Norway has the biggest sovereign wealth in the world, about $2.2 trillion, because the oil and gas wealth has been invested by the leadership in some top line ventures across the world. So they have kept wealth for generations unborn. So democracy is not just politicking. Politicking is a vehicle to the system and the structure that will drive the management of the national resources to create commonwealth for common good. But I think that's why I mentioned earlier that we may be practicing politocracy and just branding it as democracy, because the effect must, you know, and there are other countries in the world also. You look at the UK, for instance, where the Prime Minister can resign. You look at Canada, where even when the Prime Minister realizes beginning to lose popularity with the people, he steps aside. So you don't have all this, oh, I must get there, I must remain there, and at all costs it's do or die. No, that doesn't appear like the bright and brilliant picture of democracy.
All right, Barrister Jide, let's talk about the INEC regulations. What role does the INEC needs to play in regulating coalition at this point?
If you look at Section 83 of the Electoral Act 2026 as amended, it gives INEC leverage to monitor the activities of the parties, even their expenses. INEC is even to check their books, audit, and publish to the public, how they are faring. And you saw the involvement of INEC in the case of David Mark and Gambo and all those, not recognizing and things like that. So INEC has a big role to play. But to the extent of action, I doubt if INEC has so much. INEC is to monitor the affairs of political parties and ensure that they comply within the confines of the conditions of the Electoral Act in the country, and of course other assignments for INEC to educate the people, manage the elections, and ensure they have a free, fair, credible, transparent election at point in time elections. So that's a big challenge for INEC. It's just that some of us are worried. I somewhere that the budget judicial cases towards 27 election for INEC, 132 billion naira, and I ask,
that's a lot.
The fact that we are even envisaging, we need to clean up a lot of things and tame politicians. Desperation is too much. When was the last time that the elections in the UK courts were filled with patent things like that? I think we've left too much power of politicians, and we must begin to tame them. What Section 1 of the 1999 as amended says is that all institutions are subject to the provisions of the Constitution. So, and again, many are quick to say that very leaders for land. I doubt it. When Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, our former president, lost in 2015, he didn't go to court. So there are a lot of things we work on, and we can only achieve that we move politicking and the path also to governance, good governance. Again, the benefits in our political space is they are just they're outrageous. Maybe when we come to a point where sitting senator earns the same salary as a university lecturer, then we now have to be begging people, if we come and beg you to go to Senate.
Okay, talking about this, a few ways that the Senate President Babu made a statement, during the plenary session. In his words, is that I think ADC parties that please they shall every resignation letter from AD so that it will be easy to announce. And a lot of persons were saying, oh, he's saying the right thing. Why some persons say is the indirect opposition party. I mean, in a country there's supposed to be an opposition party, but it seems and it's looking before this it's already looking like the state is becoming a one-party system, and which is not supposed to be like that. I mean, each country is supposed to have an opposition party. So now some person that he is mocking the opposition party, while others are saying that it seems to be like that. What is that take?
I think it's a mockery. election to have Nnamdi Azikiwe as the premier of the Western region. About 20 members of CNC suddenly defected to Action Group just to deflate the ambition of Azikiwe, and Obafemi Awolowo won. So it's not a new thing. And you now fast forward to the Second Republic, I think between 1979 and 1983. In Ondo State, Omobori Owo was in UPN, and he was desperate to become. He moved here. You recall also that MKO Abiola did not start in SDP. He was in UPN, defected. This tussle between him and Awolowo to defected to NPN.
So this old
exactly. And again, when you look at what APC did in 2013, APC started galvanizing some splinters of party, New PDP, APGA, and all of them, CPC, ACN, and they came together to form APC. Towards the 2015 election, many governors from PDP, you recall the New PDP, even towards 2023 election, you saw the G5 in PDP resisting the ambition of Atiku. They were in PDP, but they supported, and I predicted that before 2019 election, that a time was coming in Nigeria when politicians will no longer be loyal to their parties. So here we are right now, and as we speak now, 31 governors
defected to the APC.
So defection can be ignited by opportunism, by internal rancor within the parties, which is not the strongest excuse, because you are supposed to reduce you have in your party as loyal politicians. Then you talk of salvation, and I think that is the greatest of it all, because politicians must remain in that space. Like I said, to be a serving politician in Nigeria, if you earn 21 million naira per month, I don't know what factory you want to set up. I've not profiled him. Well, I'm not sure he earns 21 million naira per month with all the loans he has to pay back on his refinery and things like this. Why you can see the desperation. Even in the Senate, you must have watched the investigation Akpabio and
like yesterday,
trying to streamline the leadership roles within the National Assembly as a preserve of a few privileged. And Ashamala is saying no. So you can see now that the focus has shifted from governance. You look out of the window of the National Assembly and the Aso Villa and everything. You talk about energy problem, you talk about health problems, you talk about the headline inflation, you talk about pump price of petroleum, you talk about food price and things like that. So about the insecurity, government is trying, reforms are on all. But then I ask a simple question. Go around now and show me 40 politicians that are saying leave 2020 alone. Let's find how to solve the problems we have right now and make the people rejoice. I'm waiting for maybe 30.
And I mean, all these people in power, they're supposed to, protect lives and property, look after the people. That is why they are there. But at the same time, hear lots of Nigerians saying that those people, they are there. I've had several guests saying those people, they are there just for themselves. They are fighting into power just for themselves and not for, the good of other people, which isn't supposed to be like that, Barrister Jide.
Yes, absolutely. If you look at Section 14, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it states clearly that the security and the welfare of the citizens shall be the primary purpose of government. Primary. And you can be the examiner, find out that how secure is Nigeria. Talk about life. Recently I read about 30 kings fled their palace in Kwara State. I'm not talking of subjects,
30 kings.
Yeah, evacuated from their palaces. So these are issues about welfare. You know what people are going through right now. Yes, the president has assured us reforms are going on, and then the benefits will come, and the pain must come before the gain. But again, many people are not viewing it from that angle. For instance, I also rose up to wonder that when the president subsidy was gone, I expected that boom, windfall, will be deployed, pushing the effects of the economic situation on the citizens. But that wasn't the case. They went to governors and then government leadership. So
I don't know.
Even some governors confess that yes, now I have the money. But at the point in time, brilliantly so, even the president addressed some of the governors that after you more money, you are not taking care of your people. Except for some few governors, Governor Zulum in Borno State, to cushion the effects of the current hardship, had to roll in some electric buses to carry students to work and things, Then, brilliantly so, the governor of Lagos State, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has promised to pay the civil service naira in this month, and we have ongoing assessment of the interventions that can help. Government is not denying the hardship, but how many governors? Because as you find some of the governors doing brilliantly, some governors, I think about 20 states in Nigeria, are even yet to implement the minimum wage.
So you mean all those things is still the state governance, rather?
You cannot put all this federal government.
So the federal government, they are doing their best.
I mean, did I? Yes, they will tell you they are doing, But again, the Electricity Act that is signed, states to take of the energy sector. In how many states have engaged it brilliantly
I don't
to
think you
empower? But Abia State is doing wonders. We monitor all these things.
But the new Minister of Power said within 3 months is going to sort this situation in the country.
We've been hearing. I mean, I will name one room in my house after him. If in 3 months, 24/7 electricity for 30 days.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Jide, for your time. Thank you all our viewers. Thank you Nigerians. Thank you once again for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you all our viewers for joining our Lagos Network studio this beautiful morning on CMI. We handing over to our Benin Network studio for the continuation on CMI. I am Marcelina Unkwo. Just stay with us.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program, Healthy Living. What is the kidney?
The kidney is an excretory organ in the body, which is for metabolism.
Tuberculosis affects many organs in the body, but the common ones it usually affects is the lungs.
Epilepsy is a neurological problem.
Okay.
It is an injury in the brain which causes someone to begin to convulse, to go into fits.
It is curable, but the cure is a long-term thing.
If you eat well and avoid those risk factors that will make your immunity to be down, then the risk of contracting tuberculosis will be reduced.
If you're healthy, then you're wealthy.
A very beautiful morning to you, and thank you for joining us on the AM News on ITV. I am Lawrence Osifo. We'll begin in Kaduna State, northwestern Nigeria, where a powerful rainstorm has left a trail of destruction in Doka Maijama, a community in Chukun local government area of Kaduna State, killing at least 2 people and destroying more than 50 houses. The village head, Hamisu Tuko, confirmed that the storm displaced many residents and caused extensive damage across the area. According to him, dozens of houses were severely affected and several completely flattened by the strong wind and storm. Residents said that the heavy rainstorm lasted for about 40 minutes, accompanied by violent winds that tore off roofs and reduced buildings to rubble. Many families have been left homeless and were seen trying to salvage what they could from the debris. Affected residents have appealed to the state government as well as the National Emergency Management Agency NEMA and the Kaduna State Emergency Management Agency KADSEMA for urgent support. Emergency officials have since begun assessing the situations, with NEMA deploying a team to evacuate the extent of the damage and evaluate, also determine necessary response. In Lagos State, where the Federal Comptroller of Works in Lagos, Mr. Olufemi Dare, says that the federal government is weighing the possible shutdown of a carriageway of the Eko Bridge, subject to the approval of the Minister of Works, Senator Engineer Dave Umahi. The Federal Comptroller of Works in Lagos, Mr. Olufemi Dare, says that the federal government is weighing the possible shutdown of a carriageway in Eko Bridge, subject to the approval of the Minister of Works. He also said that the move followed a recent joint inspection by consultants, contractors, and officials of the Federal Ministry of Works, which revealed that about 8 piles of the bridge had been badly damaged, posing significant threat to users and also risk. Dari attributed the damage largely to the activities of miners and scavengers, noting that some of the piles have also lost their concrete covering, leaving only exposed reinforcement. He added that the Minister of Works was expected to visit Lagos for further assessment and to take a final decision on the recommendations. Still in Lagos, where a federal high court sitting in Lagos has restrained the National Broadcasting Commission, the NBC, from sanctioning broadcast stations under provisions of the Nigeria Broadcasting Code (NBC), which describe it as controversial. Justice Daniel Siago granted the interim injunction following an ex parte application filed by the Socio-Economic Right and Accountability Project (SERAP) and the Nigerian Guild of Editors. The court barred the NBC, its officers and officials, and also agents from enforcing or imposing sanctions on broadcast stations based on the disputed provisions pending the determination of a motion and notice. The ruling effectively stops the Commission from acting on its recent formal notice, which warned broadcasters against expressing personal opinions as facts, intimidating guests, or failing to maintain neutrality. And moving on to Abuja, where a 4th defendant in the alleged coup plot trial before the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja, Zekeri Umoru, has denied knowledge of any plan to overthrow President Bola Tinubu's government. The defendant insisted that a recorded statement played in court that he was misled. Umoru, an employee of the maintenance department of the presidential villa working with a construction company, made a claim in a video recording previewed by the court as part of the prosecution's evidence against the 6 defendants standing trial over the alleged plot. In the video, Umoru told investigators that he first came in contact with persons linked to the case through the 3rd defendant, Inspector Ahmed Ibrahim, attached to the presidential clinic. He said Ibrahim introduced him to a man identified as Hassan Mohammed, whom he later discovered was Colonel Mohammed Marji. According to Umoru, the initial He initially believed that Margie was a civilian businessman interested in offering him electrical work at the building under construction. The defendant recounted how he allegedly received several cash payments from Margie during meetings attended by Ibrahim and other associates identified as Usman. We take it now to the Niger Delta region, where the Nigerian Navy has issued a strong warning to maritime criminals, reaffirming its resolve, capacity, and commitment to ending crude oil theft and securing the nation's maritime domain. Speaking at the flag-off of exercise Fleet Sentinel, the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Idi Abbas, described the exercise as a significant milestone in efforts to strengthening the Navy's operational capacity and capability. Abbas, who was represented by the Chief of Naval Staff and Standards, Rear Admiral Pakiribu Anamraba. Rear Admiral Anamraba explained that the exercise is aimed at addressing and assessing the operational states and combat readiness of the Navy in addressing emerging maritime threats in line with its constitutional mandate. The flag officer commanding Central Naval Command, Rear Admiral Suleiman Ibrahim, said that the joint exercise conducted in collaboration with the Eastern and Central Naval Commands is designed to curb crude oil theft, dismantle illegal refining networks in the Niger Delta region, and to ensure safe maritime environment for commercial activities. And that's the size for package on the news update for this time. I am Lawrence Osifo, thanking you for watching. Do well to join us again at 12 for another package of the news. Up next is TMI Socials. Good morning.
ITV, certainly the best.
ITV, certainly the best.
Well, isn't it interesting to see how there is always one hashtag, one story to talk about on the street of social media? They'll tell me about it. Welcome on board. This is TMI Socials. I am Nuoluakpo Stevens. So better still call me a social media butterfly. Now today we begin in Abuja, where we saw a bit of clash between Senate President Godswill Akpabio and the senator representing the Edo North Senatorial District, Adams Oshiomhole. Had a clash yesterday, barely 24 hours after the Senate amended its standing rules to restrict eligibility for presiding officers. So a report says that trouble started when Akpabio began the reading of the votes and proceedings of Tuesday's sitting. The agreement disrupted the plenary for about 10 minutes. Oshiomhole raised a point of order, but the Senate President reminded him that such interventions are not allowed at this stage under the Senate Standing Orders 2023 as amended. Anyway, let's move over to Abuja and have the feel.
Mr. President, point of order. Mr. President, I'm invoking.
Senator Mangono. Senator Mangono.
I'm invoking.
Senator Mangono, approach the chair. Approach the chair. Approach the chair. Senator Mangono, approach the chair. And I've said it, people have been in these chambers for 3 years now. We should begin to know the rules of the Senate. I don't want to be accused of executive arrogance. That's why I keep tolerating these things. Please, there's no new senator any longer. There's no new senator any longer. Let us try our best to abide by the rules here. I've said if you're a policeman, you will wear police uniform unless you are in investigation. If you're a soldier, you must wear the army uniform. If you're a senator, you must go by the rules. Am I right? So point of order, you are ruled out of order. Page, what?
Mr. President, distinguished Senator Adams Oshiomhole, please be guided. Be guided. Distinguished Senator Adams Oshiomhole, I am now invoking powers.
Well, that went on for close to 10 minutes yesterday. Well, we'll move away from that story because it's an ongoing conversation online as we speak, as we talk about another interesting one. So we finally have a new Minister of Power, Joseph Tegbe, and he has said something really striking. So Nigeria's Minister-designate for Power, Joseph Tegbe, has pledged to tackle the recurring national grid collapse if confirmed and sworn in as substantive minister. Mr. Tegbe said he will try to fix the grid collapse in his first 100 days in office, meaning in the next 3 months. Now, he made a pledge yesterday while responding to questions from senators during his screening at the Senate chamber. Well, whilst we move over back to the Senate chamber yesterday, there was another minister right there who said, or another lawmaker who said we should move over to China to help us with the security and the electricity situation rather in the country. Take a listen.
The best thing to do, in my opinion, and in the opinion of some others, is to swallow our pride, call on one of the major successful advanced countries, preferably China, because their cost of labor and cost generally is low. Give them this project of power in Nigeria. Run it for 20 years. Give us stable power, get your money back and move out. And within these 20 years, we'll have stable power, and you know the meaning of stable power is, it means real development. All other areas will work perfectly, and we'll get it right. And it is always like that, but when you go to see.
Oh well, that video also trended yesterday in line with the electricity talk from Joseph Tebe, the Minister Designate for Power. Reacting to this online, let's see what you have been saying, and if you even trust what the Minister Designate said. This one wrote, Nigerians are no longer impressed by big promises or political statements. What people want now is simple, light that stays on, not speeches that come and go. If Joseph Tebe can truly make a noticeable improvement in electricity within 100 days, it will speak for itself and earn public respect. And he went on and on. Away from that, let's take another reaction online. This user wrote, let's see what we have. Well, Daniel says, a government that isn't ready to work can't appoint anyone credible to do the tax. Today, or yesterday actually was the 6th of May, he will be reminded of this promise in 3 months, which happens to be August 6, 2026. Now reacting to this still, this user wrote on X, this is a good chance for this guy to be a hero. He does well, he becomes a credible name, and that earns him a good portfolio for even bigger offices. Let's see if he prioritizes his integrity or his stomach infrastructure. Well, finally, this one says, first of all, what his portfolio? Does he have any degree in electricals / engineering or any related field? Has he worked in any electrical company before, or was he given the appointment as compensation? Right, a lot of questions right there, but away from that, still staying in Abuja, interestingly, yesterday we saw dozens of Nigerians stage a protest against the telecommunication company MTN Nigeria in Abuja, accusing telecom operators of exploitation, poor service delivery, rapid data depletion, and high internet cost. Human rights activist Omoyele Sowore, who led the protest, alleged that telecom companies were shortchanging subscribers through unjustified data depletion and substandard services. Let's take a look. Oh, well, reacting to this online, let's see what netizens have been saying. The social media street, always an unending drama. This user wrote, they will tell you it's a 1-month subscription, but it won't even last for 2 days. Oh, that is really painful. I can relate. Now, another user reacting online says, it's a big fraud, but they won't talk about it on big platforms. Well, we are talking about it right now. Another user still on this bit says, let's see what we have. This one wrote, these network companies are exploiting Nigerians unchecked by any regulatory agency. You will just wake up to notice that your data just vanished to the air without any notice or answer to what happened to it. They need to answer to all the fraudulent acts happening with the network. Absolutely. Well, another user still on the story. If we could have another reaction, is that all we have? Okay, well, finally, this one says, just cut the network already so that we see how they're gonna operate. Oh, well, Senator Adams Oshimole did raise that up the other day, but it was put down by the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio. Now, let's talk politics. Yesterday, still staying in Abuja, the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, has taken a swipe at former Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi over his recent defection to the NDC. Now, speaking yesterday during his monthly media briefing, Wike questioned Obi's leadership capacity, accusing him of repeatedly failing to build and stabilize political parties as he has been affiliated with. In fact, he even said he's operating a mama put kind of politics. Take a listen.
Obi was an Abga. He couldn't build Abga. Crisis. What is called leadership? Leadership is for you to stand up to challenges and see how you settle those crises. He left Abga. He came to PDP. He ran away PDP. So there's one man in PDP who dominated everything. He went to Labour. Labour had crisis. You couldn't also use your leadership skill, your leadership prowess to put Labour together. You ran away again from Labour. You went to ADC. Now ADC had problem. Oh, I don't know what's happening there. You ran away from ADC again. You are now in NDC. All you are looking for, food is ready. Food is ready, mama put, food is ready. Anywhere, who will stabilize if you cannot stay and stabilize? Why the people are called not run away from PDP? When all the giants with the huge allocation of money they have, who stood them, who said we will leave.
Oh, well, great. Well, I'm really looking forward to the response from Peter because that was really hilarious and how he's really talking passionately for me. The fact that he said he's looking for already made food and he said mama put, oh my God. Well, let's go over to see what you've been saying online. This is the Reels on X. At least you recognized that he's still in the game after what all you have been doing. Well, Channels on Instagram says that one. Another user still reacting to this interesting story. This user wrote, when everyone talks about you, either good or bad, just know you're unique. Okay, if you say so. Well, still in this bait, this user says, this one wrote, coming from a man who does not know where he belongs. Ouch. The PDAPC saga. Now, still in this vid, this user says, if we could have more reactions on the story. This one says, Mama put politics, but you all are threatened by him. He is not the only one contesting. Okay, I wish I could finish that particular comment though. He's not the only one contesting, but you all are always scrutinizing his moves. Now, finally on TMI Socials, as we get to round up, the federal government has banned recipients of honorary degrees from prefixing doctor to their names in official, academic or professional usage. Now, the Minister of Education, Tunji Alausa, disclosed this during a media briefing at the presidential villa yesterday in Abuja, and this has sparked a lot of reactions online. But let's see how you took this on socials, if we could have our reactions. Okay, well, this one says, really needed everywhere, doctor, yet when the person opens mouth to speak, you will start questioning your own IQ. Okay, really? Well, another one on this interesting story, this user says, normally, if you know the amount of hard work to earn a PhD in Nigeria, no easy. So apparently she loves this beautiful policy. While still taking more reactions on this, this one says, simple, correct, overdue. An honorary degree is a decoration and not a qualification. Using doctor without earning it devalues real doctors who spent years in study and clinical training. The ban stops fraud and cheap prestige. Politicians and wealthy donors will hate it because they lose a free title. Universities will complain, but they created the mess by selling honors. Good policy, no sentiment needed. Okay, well, we'll see how things eventually goes. And this one says, I love this. You have to earn it through the right channel. Interesting. Now, on that note, we wrap up TMI Socials this morning. Thank you so much for being part of the show. I am Anuoluwapo Stevens, and from all of us on This Morning on ITV, Abuja, Lagos, and right here in the Delta State, please stay safe. We'll see you again next week. Goodbye.